You are now listening to Serious Minds RN TV with your host, Professor Griff. The call-in number is 516-654-7688. That's 516-654-7688. This is Professor Griff, and this is Serious Minds RN TV. Serious Minds for Serious Minds. Seriously. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, so we can notify you when's the next time we vibe on Serious Minds. Serious Minds for Serious Minds. Seriously. Serious Minds Institute presents the Goddess, Gods, and Guns live stream event. Home Defense Carry Conceal Plan. Learn Carry Conceal Permit. Reciprocity laws. Learn the gun laws. Women's handgun self-defense fundamentals. And of course, we the people will learn stealth. The legalities of carrying firearms. Safety, training, education. You said check my sound? I didn't even come up. I didn't even bring it up on the screen yet. Now can you hear my sound? Check 1 2 1 2 check 1 2 check 1 1 1 1 2. Can you hear my sound now? How about now? Yeah, Quan, with this system, it won't give you a sound until it puts me on the screen. Yeah. All right. I'm going to try this number one more time. If not, I guess I have to take it off the system in order to. Yeah. Hold on for a second. Let's try it one more time. Let's try it one more again. Hold on. Yup, going through the Rodecaster Pro. I should be able to hear it. Y'all should be able to hear it. He should be able to hear me.
WL1450 calling out for show. Who's calling in from where?
Yes, this is Professor Griff calling in for the 5 o'clock interview. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on.
All right.
He's on line two? I'm not hearing Steve.
Mr. Carl Nelson.
All right, Dr. Horwitz. Dr. Horwitz. Can you repeat how folks can get your information? Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, sounds great. All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ruby wanted that information. Can you repeat that for us?
Certainly. Yes, Ruby and others listening, if you want a copy of the complaint, it's freely downloadable on medicalveritas.org. At the tab at the top, it says medical legal. Click on that. The first article that opens up is the complaint against Pfizer and Moderna. And it's downloadable for free. It's 84 pages. And you'll be able to not only understand in that what I've been saying about how it is that the virus actually works. You can read about that, but you can also read the whole background that even goes into the HIV/AIDS material and Dr. Fauci's conflicting interests and how they're defrauding virtually everybody by claiming that this is safe.
All right. And how can they reach you if they want more information?
Yes, I'm available at editor at medicalveritas.org. My email address is editor@medicalveritas. That means medical truth. Veritas is VERITAS.org. medicalveritas.org. editor@medicalveritas.org. And also, I think because it's so important that people get educated so that you can have truly informed consent. If you're going to have community gatherings and you're going to be inviting the public health officials to explain to you what they believe in their own heads about these vaccines, benefits versus risk, bring somebody like me or bring me in as well so that you can actually discuss this and have a balanced view so that basically then people can make truly informed decisions.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Horowitz. Thank you for sharing that information with us.
Pleasure, Carl.
All righty, folks. Let's turn our attention now to the Minister of Information. Hotep, brother, Professor Griff. Welcome back to WOL Radio.
Hotep, good brother. How you doing, Mr. Carl Nelson, sir?
We're doing fine. How are you doing, man? It's been a while.
I'm doing all right. Yeah, I was saying that earlier to someone. I said I haven't talked to Carl in a minute, but I'm doing all right. Just hanging in there, making it happen, man. Staying healthy, man.
Yeah, staying healthy, but don't hang in there, brother.
You're right. You're right. Right about that.
You're smarter than that now.
Right. Yeah.
But you want to talk about the racial divide versus the black divide, and you said there is a difference. What is the difference?
I think the difference is it starts in those 9 areas of people activity that Dr. Francis Cress Welsing gave us. So when you talk about the divide, by the time we get to politics, we've already ran the gamut of the racial divide being institutionalized racism, systemic racism in all of those areas of people activity. So by the time we get way down the 9 areas of people activity to politics, it's almost like, we almost expect it. But those of us that are new on the scene and not privy to that body of work that she gave us may not understand. Inside of politics, it's just systemic racism. And we tend to choose sides, not understanding that the basis of it. So we choose Democrat, we choose Republican, we choose to be a liberal, conservative, and all these other things. But yeah, the smaller parties, the bigger parties, and we don't factor in the fact that how do we fare whomever is the president, whatever administration is in office, how do we fare? I'm talking about taking a good look at our self-interest. Marcus Garvey said race first. And I think we need to put that on the table, not on their table, Carl, not the table that we share, but the black table. We need to put that on the table and say, does what Marcus Garvey gave us matter? Should we say race first, and then should we approach politics and religion and all the other 9 areas of people activity with that in mind?
Having said that, Ben, do you think this last election has fragmented, has broken us up into different camps in the black community I'm referring to?
Oh, yes, sir. More so than ever. But because it's lingering on now, you're starting to see a lot of black people who they really, truly are. They're being more boisterous and more vocal without mentioning any names. And we're seeing them for who they really are. And they truly do not have black people's best interests at heart. They have the party's best interest at heart, and we weren't invited necessarily to those parties.
Having said that, I'm hearing a lot of call for unity in the black community. Now, somebody just sent me a thing that LL Cool J's got a new rock with bells focusing on bridging the divide. I mean, on all different levels. Do you think black people are waking up now?
Yes, and people like LL Cool J, whom was on my list a few years ago, and it's like, wow, for real. So to hear that, I'm saying, wow, okay, that's cool. People are waking up, but we have to allow them the space, and the time, and the energy, and the breathing room to wake up. Carl, you understand what I'm saying? They may not ask me to bring them their morning coffee because I probably have a dissertation for them because we got to catch them up with what's been going on while they were asleep. You understand what I'm saying? So people are waking up in their own good time. Yeah. But nonetheless, they're waking up.
And that's kind of what Malcolm said, too. We got to give them that space for them to grow because we weren't as woke as we are today.
Exactly.
As back then. So, because LL Cool J, he's saying that we need to be unified. And you're right. He was on the suspects list for quite some time, but it seems like he's out of that sunken place now. If he was in the sunken place, that's another issue too, Griff. Because who's makes the determination whether you're woke or not, whether you're in a sunken place or not?
Well, it's not a determination. The person that individual determines it for themselves by what comes out of their mouth, their ways and actions. What side of the issues that they're on. When it comes to police brutality, and you have your friend, Barry, Barack Obama, saying it's kind of silly and foolish to talk about defund the police. Who came up with this? He called it a slick slogan. And it's like, wow. So when you put that on the table, and then you ask the LL Cool J's of the world, or the Commons, or some of these other people, what side of this do you stand on? Because there's no in between. I was discussing this with someone earlier. You either have integrity or you don't. It's not like I have a little bit of integrity. That's like being a little bit pregnant. You understand what I'm saying? No, you either have it or you do not have it. Plain and simple.
But Griff, don't give Obama to me as my friend. Please, I'm not going to take that one. But anyway, let me ask you this though. He did say that it was wrong to talk about defund the police. Is he out of touch with the black community by saying that?
He was never in
seen
touch.
It through a different lens.
No. He was never in touch. Everything that they gave us about this particular individual, he did a little and they fabricated a lot. A lot of times we're dealing with 6 degrees of separations. If I say to someone, you know a gentleman by the name of Carl Nelson? It's like, nah, but let me ask my cousin. And by the time I get to the 6th person, someone will know Carl Nelson and connect you and I. We cannot say that about Barry. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to understand this particular dynamic. He's coming in now, even so much so to the point where he wants to come and show everyone that he's going to take the vaccination, that it's safe, and we can now trust the government. At the same time, when he was running, he was basically known as the drone warrior. They said he killed more people using drones than, and this is what they wrote about him, not what Professor Griff says. So for you to come in now and say, yeah, I think, to talk about defunding the police will actually work against us. Well, someone needs to pull his coat and sit him down and let him know, listen, when the police come, they don't work for us. They don't serve and protect us. By the time you call the police, you're running the risk of 2 or 3 members of the family getting shot. So, yeah, someone needs to.
Yeah, and the reason why I ask you that, Griff, because, for the most blacks, we see it, we disagree with him fundamentally with what he just said about defunding the police. And I guess he didn't explain himself, whether the phraseology wasn't correct. But he says that hurts, and the people who he's talking about hurts. We know who they are.
Right.
He's not referring to us. That's why I'm saying is he seeing it through a different lens? Because obviously he doesn't have a black lens.
Exactly. Let me put it this way, Carl. Now I'm not the one that came up with the slogan, but when I heard it, I did understand it because it was explained by 2 or 3 people, and I really truly got it after a minute. And it was a quiet minute. So when they say defund the police, we're not talking about taking every single dime that actually runs the police department in every city. We're talking about taking some of those funds and allocating some of those funds to a community policing program with those responsible organizations and individuals that can come intervene in cases like mental illness or in a case where a gentleman is actually having an episode because he's not all there as far as his mental is concerned. So someone else needs to come in along with the police and say, listen, let's try to talk him off the bridge. Let's talk him down. Let's have this conversation. For example, the mental health worker, one of his his clients, so to speak, was having an issue, and he sat on the curb with them. Someone called the police, and when the police was on their way and they finally got there, the healthcare worker held his hands up so the police can see his hands, and the police shot him dead. And I was like, wow. So we don't need that kind of military style, state-sponsored murder, we could actually call it. We truly don't need that, Barack Obama. We want community policing, and we want police in our neighborhood to kind of like know the neighborhood and know who they're policing and how to police
Hold on,
them.
right there, Griff. We got to take a short break. I'll let you expand on that on the other side, too.
Yes.
I want you to talk about black cops as well.
Yes, sir.
800-450-7876. You want to speak with Professor Griff? Reach out to us, and we'll take your calls after this short break right here on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power.
This report is sponsored by
Quan,
Big
can you
Al,
hear me?
Law Offices of Richard Klein.
Quan.
The serious car accident that was on DC 295 right at Bidding Road has been cleared, but traffic is still stop and go from the 11th Street Bridge. Also, still stop and go traffic in the 3rd Street Tunnel northbound between D Street and New York Avenue. Also in Maryland, we're still dealing with that serious accident on the outer loop of the Beltway, right between Landover Road and Route 50. Traffic is falling because of this accident, but you're going to get by on the right side. Big Al reminds you to call 1-800-HURT-123 if you ever get into an accident. Big Al, a law firm of Richard Klein, will make sure the insurance...
Allstate. Now that should be music to your ears.
Not available in every state. Savings based on early signing, discount drive-bys, and mile-wide. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
'Tis the season to buy black. La 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 black. It's not a trend, it's a movement. With the unapologetically black card that rewards for buying black. Earn double points this holiday season with select black-owned brands and earn points for qualified everyday purchases. From groceries to TV and music streaming subscriptions. Redeem points for cash back or donate them to support black charities. Apply now for your One VIP card with no credit check at onevip.com. Subject to terms and conditions. The One VIP Visa Prepaid card is issued by Star Bank and a member FDIC. Pursuant to a license from Visa USA Inc.
Science is not an opinion. People come before pipelines. It's not too late to act on climate. No one is above the law. At Earth Justice, we hold these beliefs to be self-evident. As a national legal nonprofit fighting for your right to a healthy environment, we are 150-plus lawyers representing clients free of charge because now, more than ever, the Earth needs a good lawyer. No one fights more cases on the environment than Earth Justice. And we win because these are fights we cannot lose. We win for scientists so they can serve at the EPA. We win at the Supreme Court because clean water is for everyone. We win against fossil fuel plants so communities can breathe freely. If you believe what we believe, then help us fight the good fight and help us keep winning by going to earthjustice.org today. That's earthjustice.org.
1450 WOL, everywhere you are, via our mobile app. And now back to the Carl Nelson Show. On Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
And thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is Professor Griff. You know him from Public Enemy. He was the Minister of Information for the group. And we're discussing the fact that Barack Obama, when some folks said we should defund the police, he said that hurt the Democrats in some areas. And before the discussion, we were saying, which areas, who's he seeing it? Which lens is he looking to at?
Right.
So my question to Griff was, before we left for the break, was how do the black cops figure in all of this? Griff?
Well, I think if we take a look at it through the lens that Barack Obama is obviously looking at it through, Obama, I believe, 16, I forget which year it was, but Obama signed the Blue Alert law to protect police officers. Now, even with that conversation, what was the position of black officers? Did black officers say, I'm going to give my allegiance and my energy and my loyalty to being a cop or being black? And then shortly after that, we started hearing horror stories from police officers about all the hell they catch being on the force and how they're treated different. And then how racism is playing itself out in the area of law. So when Obama signed the Blue Alert law to protect police officers, what was there to actually protect the people? He gave the police more power. He gave the police officers this untouchable kind of immunity to go and basically police black communities however they want to police black communities. He said he signed it into law, which is a measure that will require instant nationwide blue alerts to warn about threats to police officers. And that's through the lens of Barack Obama.
Yeah. And there's several layers to that we can unpeel in a moment. I'm going to ask you this, and we got some folks who want to talk to you already. Griff, they had a meeting today with Biden and Harris, and they met with quote unquote the civil rights leaders, and we know who they are. We don't have to mention the names. Mm-hmm. And one of the things they were asking him for was a cabinet office level of civil rights, executive to make sure that civil rights are enforced, and what we're discussing here about the police, that would fall under that scrutiny. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Wow, I would think I would have to tear a page out of the history books, and the page that I have to tear out of the history books would be the page that Malcolm X gave us, and he talked about the idea of human rights. I think we're suffering from amnesia at this point, simply because if we roll our minds back to the whole idea of establishing civil rights without establishing a human right for all people, especially black people, I think we're going to miss the boat on that, simply because when they start talking about civil rights, when you read the fine print, that civil right means everyone, and then black people get pushed to the curb, so to speak, and we're never mentioned. When they start talking about all the people, and then when you put all the people in the room together, black people are the very main people that have to wait outside the room. So we're never discussed. Our issues are never discussed. Our concerns are never discussed. We're not at the meeting. Those of us that can speak up and speak out for our people. Even when you talk about organizations that were started by us but funded by someone else, like Black Lives Matter, we're not in the room to have these particular discussions. I mean, to really have them, Carl. I'm not just talking about the Band-Aid method. I'm not talking about, just a statement of two that will fit into the news spin or the news cycle for that evening or for the rest of the week. I'm talking about meaningful, practical things that we could lay on the table and then turn around and have an infrastructure that will hold them accountable.
Gotcha. Yeah, as I mentioned, you got some folks who want to speak with you already. 800-450-7876 going out of Colorado. Dan's waiting first on line 2. Dan, you're on with Professor Griff.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
yes.
Yeah, Griff.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm in Arizona.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. Professor Griff.
Yes, sir.
Over the years, it's a statement, and I have a question. Over the years, I'm 56 years old now, and I have noticed the same problem that we as Black people, the same issues, mistreatment, just brutality, indirect violence against us. I believe that the code that's in the United Independent Compensatory Code that Mr. Neely Fuller has,
yes, sir.
We have to practice a code. We have to learn a pattern, how we're going to conduct ourselves to counteract racism, white supremacy. Mm-hmm. But first, I noticed that a lot of us, unfortunately, are very confused. We don't even have a definition of racism, white supremacy. A squirrel could be a racist, so anyone could be a racist. So I believe is right there. Once we eliminate that confusion of what racism is and white supremacy, I believe a lot of other things will be more clear. We will have less confusion. Now, my question to you is this: why Mr. Fuller has this code for quite a while? What would be one of the solutions in helping us to adopt this as a people? Now, I'm specifically talking about black people. I'm not talking about, I have no problem with the alphabet group or, the lesbian, gays, and all. I'm talking about specific black people, native blacks, descendants of slaves in America.
Okay. So in order for us to adopt that particular the concept and understanding racism, white supremacy, well, I have to beg to differ with you. When Neely Fuller gave us the code, we affectionately called it his book. Right along with that, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, for over 40-something years, has given us a working, fundamental, functional definition of racism, white supremacy. And you can find it in her book, The ISIS Papers. It's been among us for quite some time. And we kind of use that as the foundation in understanding racism, white supremacy. So she did define it. And by now we should know it. I know as long as I've been teaching and sitting at the feet of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, I've given this definition out many times. So we do know what racism, white supremacy is now. To answer the other part of your question, to actually set it in motion and to live by it, that's going to take an educational component to bring our people together at the church, at the political rallies, at all the other clubs that we belong to, even when dealing with politics, the Republican Party Club and the Democratic Party Club, and wherever we get together, on and offline. We need to put the definition that Dr. Frances Cress Welsing gave us, a functional definition of racism, white supremacy, in play as taught by Neely Fuller.
Okay, now my question, Mr. Nelson, can I give the definition of racism, white supremacy right now? Do I have time to do that?
Yeah, you do. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Okay, then it's the definition that's functional: a global system of people who classify themselves as white and are dedicated to abusing and or subjugating everyone in the known universe whom they classify as not white. That's my functional definition, and I believe that definition is very accurate. And it's in harmony with Frances Cress Welsing. So to differ, I have no problem. There's nothing to differ about. Frances Cress Welsing, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., I don't see any disagreement. I believe that definition is accurate and functional. Do you agree?
Yes, sir. Neely Fuller and Dr. Frances Cress Welsing gave us.
Well, let me ask you this, Dan, before we let you go. Why do you think so many of our people have problems with figuring out what Dr. Welsing is saying and what Neely Fuller is saying? And it just works. It doesn't make sense. Why do you think they have problems, deciphering what they're trying to teach us?
Unfortunately, it just shows the efficiency of racism, white supremacy, of just polluting our minds in every area of life. And we walk around just as confused, like there's a strange scent that's poisonous and people falling. We just don't know where it comes from. And I believe one thing is fear. Major component, I believe, is fear. Fear to address racism, white supremacy. I'm going to be, as Frances Cress Welsing say, I just want a better seat at the table or a better seat at the stadium. I'm not interested in producing justice and eliminating this system and bringing a better system, which is justice. And so also is unfortunate, our confusion. If our teachers don't know, our parents don't have a functional, accurate definition, and fear. We're afraid to say that nice white guy that drives that bus is a suspected racist until proven otherwise. We don't even want to put him there in that category.
Right. Dan, you get an A. You sit at the front of the class. You get an A for that. You've been a great student for Dr. Welsing and Neely Fuller Jr. Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Professor Griff, your thoughts on what he just said?
Well, no, I mean, he was on it. I don't really see a real need to remix or revamp Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's definition. If that's how he understands it, though, and understands it, that's absolutely fine. But what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing laid out, she actually put that definition to the test among white people. And it stood the test of time, and it will continue to stand the test of time. She even put it out there and said, if anyone else could come up with a better definition, she'll get rid of hers. And for 40 some odd years, she taught this, and she left us with that. And if I have anything to do with it, I'm going to make sure people know and understand who this ancestor is and her work.
You're absolutely right. She is standing the test of time, and that's the answer I give people when they say that they don't understand it or they don't believe it works. I says, well, what's your answer? What? And they never do.
Right.
They just, because they don't understand it, they try to put it down. I says, well, like Dr. Wilson said when she said, whenever they say they don't understand it, tell them, come up with a better formula.
Right.
What's keeping us down on this planet? And they don't have an answer. So,
right.
You're absolutely right. Thanks for reminding me about
right. And I think
we got to take a short break. We got another Dan wants to speak to you. He's in Atlanta.
All right.
Folks, you too can join this discussion with Professor Griff. Reach out to us, 800-450-7876, and we'll take your calls after the short break right here on FM 95.9 and AM 1450, WOL, where information is power.
Patrol Cleaning Solutions says tough times seem tougher for children at Christmas. Many of us have a lot to be thankful for. Do your part. Make a difference by donating a gift to any military recruiter police or fire department. Share with a child and make it a Merry Christmas for those less fortunate. That's a message from Patrol Cleaning Solutions, your #1 commercial and residential cleaning company. For more info, call 301-795-2150 for Patrol Cleaning Solutions in Waldorf. On the air for the kids, only because they care. Merry Christmas.
Be sure to tune in to Law Talk with attorney Ethel Mitchell this Saturday morning from 8:30 a.m. until 10. It's 90 minutes of great information on wills and trusts. Are you prepared? Not sure? Let attorney Ethel Mitchell help you get prepared this Saturday morning beginning at 8:30 a.m. To reach attorney Mitchell, you may do so by calling 240-638-2828 or log on to lawtalkwithethelmitchell.com.
In January of 2017, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
And within 24 hours of that diagnosis, we found ourselves here in Memphis at St. Jude. They knew what they were doing. They knew how they were going to treat her. They laid out this elaborate plan.
We didn't know what the future was or if there even was a future. But with St. Jude, there was.
Not that long ago, the survival rate was 4%. 4%. But through the work and research that St. Jude does, by people getting behind this mission, that no child dies in the dawn of life.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
On the web and social media at WOL DC News. And now back to the Carl Nelson Show. On Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is Professor Griff. Most of you know him from Public Enemy. Right now, we're discussing a whole bunch of topics. We're going to talk to music as well. You want to speak to him? 800-450-7876. As I mentioned, Dan has been holding. He's in Atlanta. He's on line 3. Dan, you're on with Professor Griff.
Thank you. Peace, brothers.
Peace.
All right. On the idea of what Obama shared about defund the police. Mm-hmm. When you put it that way, you give them room to argue. So in us solving a problem, we have to be precise. We have to be right and exact. A better way where they can't wiggle out of it, because in law, it's real tricky with words. So we got to be right to the point where they can't argue it. So what should be said is defund the racist white supremacists that are in the police department, or sum it up, defund the Ku Klux Klan in the police department. They're not going to argue that. we giving them room to argue. That's my point. And
all right.
Also, one other thing with that, Professor Griff said that even when it was first shared with him, it took him a minute to get it. But had it been shared in the way that I said it, don't you think you would have got it right away?
No,
and
sir.
If so, will you pass that on so that we can be more accurate, we can get things done and not be bogged down with talk from these people or rebuttals on some BS that they know they really understand. Thank you. That's my point. Appreciate you, brothers.
All right. Griff?
No, I totally disagree. It took me a minute to get it because simply I'm not one of those individuals that when I readily hear something, I go on my show and talk about it, or I discuss it quietly with some individuals that's in my circle because I want to thoroughly understand it. Just on a surface level, you're going to get an argument from what this brother just gave us because they're not going to admit that these race soldiers, the police departments throughout America are laced with race soldiers. They're not going to admit they belong to the Ku Klux Klan and all these other organizations. That's going to be the argument. But if you said defund the police, then they're going to argue anyway. So we're already in an argument. So let's get rid of the fact that we're giving them something to argue. This is the argument. This is the discussion. They're going to argue. What we're doing is we're using that as the statement and we're coming behind that and we're saying, these are the reasons why we're making this statement in the way that we're making this particular statement. Now, with all of the funding that the police officers have, why is it that we always keep talking about they need to be better trained? Well, what kind of training are they getting right now that they need more money for more training, more cameras and more equipment and more training and then more training? So no, we're going to defund the police. And like I said, we're going to take some of those funds and reallocate those funds for community policing, which I think is a better solution.
All right. And as I mentioned, got some more folks want to talk to you. I got a tweeter, and the tweeter says, it says, Obama was dead wrong on his comments re defunding the police. So they agree with you on that. It says, let's tell the truth. Trump also reactivated contracts with private prisons that were canceled with Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and says, please ask your guest about Obama's 21st century policing that had consent decrees, the number of police departments that Trump canceled.
I think I would have to put that in front of me to pull out some of the more critical points that I think we need to focus in on from the limited amount of time that we have on this program. But not only Barack Obama, he had to stay in sync with the overall plan. And I think I want that young lady to know that they have allotted Barack Obama 8 years to put in place whatever him and his administration and not that people from his school of thought are going to put in place. And then when that runs its course, I think they're going and they're using that to say, listen, you had a black president, African-American president, and he put these particular things in place. If you guys didn't make progress in the 8 years that Barack Obama was in office, what else can we say to you guys? And I think that's what they're doing, and they're using that. But when you really pull one layer of Barack Obama's the things that he put in place when his administration was there, we say, wow, these things did not benefit black people directly. He said he's going to be the president of all the people. And so that automatically now just kind of, once again, black people have to step aside because when we start becoming all the people and Americans, black people get looked over.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying, but you think he was under a lot of pressure? And I think we're going to see that in the next administration when it comes up, because the white folks are going to say, "Oh, he's only going to look out for black people. He's not going to look out for all of America." So, do you think because of that, he bent over backwards to assure them that he wasn't neglecting them? He was not going to play favoritism with us.
Exactly, you're absolutely correct. But could he have given us anything? This is why they look at Donald Trump like, okay, well, at least Donald Trump did X, Y, and Z. At least Donald Trump did X, Y, and Z. And it's like, wow, Okay, so yeah, I see your point, but come on. So then when I had to take a hard look at Barack Obama and some of the things that he said the other day in his speech, I'm like, wow, but some of those things were already in place, and we put those things in place by blood, sweat, and tears, just from being in America and struggling in America. So you actually spit in the face of all those that came before you, Barack Obama. It wasn't solely you that put these things in place to see that black people get ahead. Everyone else seems to thrive in America. You could have done something specifically for black people.
Yeah, gotcha. 800-450-7876. Michael's in Dallas. He's on line 2. Michael, you're on with Professor Griff.
All right. Well, the follow up with him, that's why we ain't gonna get nothing up under Biden. I mean, Biden was there 8 years, and I'm supposed to be stupid enough to see. I mean, if Biden wanted to do something for black people, that would have been his best time to do something with the so-called black, president in office. The Republicans ain't letting him do nothing for us. But anyway, as far as being on code, my question is, who in the hell is going to do all those brain surgeries on these black folks to get them on code? Because 400 years later, we still ain't got it. I mean, Dr. Francis Cress Wesson and Neely Fuller, they collaborated, decades ago. So 400 years later, we still don't get it. Who's going to do all them damn brain surgeries on these black folks? Because I think that's what it's going to take. Ben Carson?
No,
Clarence Thomas?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, though, Michael. Do you think they deliberately don't want to? Because, once you get the knowledge, there's some responsibility because you have to change.
I think we, as a black race, we ain't nothing like my uneducated grandparents, We ain't nothing like them because they had second and third grade education. They could shut a whole damn bus line down for a year and make them get busy, couldn't they? I don't think we're smart enough. I don't think we smart enough as a black race to make any change. And without legislation, these murders have nothing to do with training. Because if it has something to do with training, just like it's a 500 list of unarmed black people that have been murdered by cops, white cops, it should be a list of whites and Asians and Mexicans and humpbacks and midgets and everything else. So they ain't got nothing to do with no stupid training. It has everything to do with skin color.
All right, Michael, let's give Griff a chance to respond. Professor?
I would definitely have to agree with Michael. Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm chuckling, but I'd have to agree with him. The only thing that Michael said that I have to slightly disagree with, he said he don't think they were smart enough. Well, we've made it this far, Michael, and we're still here. You understand what I'm saying? To be on the Carl Nelson Show, to have the discussion about it. I think the thing that we should be thinking about now is passing the correct information down to our children's children, so now children's children won't have to have this discussion 10, 15, 20 years from now. So I think we are smart enough. We're here to make a difference and a change for our children.
Yeah, but the good thing is we're having the discussion because most times, other folks don't want to talk about this.
No. You're absolutely correct. Uncle Ben and Uncle Clarence, they're not gonna have a real discussion about it. It's just not.
No. We'll cover a break real soon, but you mentioned that there's, the growing list of black gun clubs.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that from where you sit?
Wow, Carl. We might want to tackle that after the break because where I'm sitting, 6.5 million guns were sold over the last few years. Black gun clubs have risen tenfold in every city. And it seemed like with each protest, with each killing, with each incident, and we're not getting justice under this particular system, there spring up 2 or 3 black gun clubs. And black people are buying guns at an alarming rate. I mean,
and the reason why?
I think, but because the dog whistle that's constantly being blown by those who's supposed to have our security at heart and in their head And we're supposed to be Americans, and we're supposed to be protected under the law. If not the local law, the Constitution. If not the Constitution, at least by those of us who say that they speak for black people, especially black police officers, black politicians, everyone from the mayor to the city councilman to the chief of police. They say they're supposed to be policing and policing the black community, but they never hear from the black community about what our concerns are. So black people are saying, okay, if they're not going to protect us.
Hold that right there, Griff. We're going to take a short break. I'll let you expound on that on the other side. Folks, you want to join this conversation with the Minister of Information, Professor Griff? Hit us up, 800-450-7876, get you in, and we'll take your calls after the short break right here on FM 95.9 and AM 1450, WOL, where information is power.
This report is sponsored by the DC Lottery. The serious car accident on DC 295 northbound at Benning Road has been cleared, but traffic is still stop and go from the 11th Street Bridge. Also in the 3rd Street tunnel.
Is Quan, you good?
That serious accident on the outer loop of the Beltway, right between Landover Road and Route 50. It's a serious accident. Traffic gets by on the right side, so you may want to avoid that area if possible. When you play the DC Lottery, you never know how much you'll win. Maybe you'll win big, maybe you'll win a little. Either way, every win is a win, isn't it? I'm David Hankins for News Talk 1450 AM WOL, where information is power.
Have lunch with me, entrepreneur and master business leader Wendy Muhammad. Tune in every Wednesday at noon for the Mind of an Entrepreneur show. Mental strategies for navigating the world of business. Every Wednesday at noon, right here on WOL Radio. Visit us online at wendymuhammad.com. Emotionally intelligent, authentic, thought-provoking, every Wednesday at noon, right here on WOL Radio, 1450 AM.
It was a normal day.
He was in some minor accident, a fender bender.
And I had this impulse to call him, but I didn't. Because I thought I could call him later that week.
He abandoned the car, he came home, and he shot himself without ever talking to anyone.
When I came home that night and I found her, they told me that she had shot herself. And I couldn't believe it. I asked if he was okay.
Shooting is unfortunately effective. There are not a lot of second chances.
Once you pull that trigger, that's it. There is no coming back.
63 Americans a day die by gun suicide. By storing our guns safely, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo, we can give our loved ones a second chance at life. Learn more at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
Follow us on Instagram at WOL DC News. And now back to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
Thanks for rolling with us, folks. Our guest is Professor Griff. Most of you know him from Public Enemy, but he's got a vast library and a lot of followers out there as well because of his vast knowledge. You want to speak to him, 800-450-7876. Before we get back to him, let me just remind you, some of the other folks are going to be stopping by in the next few days. Going to hear from Minister Aleen Muhammad. He's going to give us an update on COVID-19. Also, world traveler, Dr. Renoka Rashidi is going to be here. And Attorney Nana Jump is going to join us as well. So if you're in the DMV, keep your radio live right here on 95.9 and 1450 WOL. So let me go back to the original question, Professor Griff, about because you said there's alarming, an increase in black gun clubs. So I'm asking the reason why you explained to me the reason why there's an increase. So I'll let you finish that thought.
Well, I think now in 2020, the highest overall firearm sales have increased among black men and women. I believe now it's up to 58.5 or 0.2% increase simply because of the whole idea of the fear mongering, the whole idea of black gun ownership and the rise of Trumpism in the age of Trump and this dog whistle that's constantly being blown The Boogaloo Boys get it. The Proud Boys get it. The 3%ers get it. And these are some of the white militias that are out there that have always been armed. But since black people feel like we have to kind of defend ourselves, where we live in our own community, what better way to do that than to formulate militias, formulate gun clubs, and now get armed and fight back. And I think because of the age of Trumpism. But go on, I'm sorry.
Right now, I was going to ask you about Jam Master Jay. Is that his name?
Grandmaster
How does he fit into the Grandmaster Jay? How does he fit into the equation?
I think he was one individual that saw that we need to come together and form a militia so we could send a direct message to those that think that, we will not fight back. And he stood up and he filled the void. He did something that only black people sit around at the barbershop and talk about. And that we have to give him credit for. He actually put it together and did it in several cities. But because of that, he made black people look at that and say, you know something? Okay, I can exercise my Second Amendment right, and I can arm myself to defend my family, to defend myself and defend my family. So it needed to be fine-tuned, but nonetheless, he showed us it could be done. Malcolm showed us it could be done. The Black Panther Party showed us it could be done.
But some folks had some issues with Jay because of his background.
And rightfully so. And I think they need to take it up in the proper platform to address those particular things with Grandmaster Jay. I'm looking at it from the outside in, and I'm saying to myself, okay, I see what the brother is attempting to do. Now, personally speaking, I would not have went about it that way, and some of these people that may have want to question him probably wouldn't have went that way about it. But why didn't we do it? Him or anyone else is not stopping us from joining the now 20 gun clubs that I know that are out there. About 20 gun clubs that I know, and about 2 black militia that are out there, some above ground and some underground. But nonetheless, black people are joining gun clubs because black gun clubs are on the rise in America due to the age of Trumpism.
Now, when Trump leaves office, you think that it's going to change the situation?
It's not, because one of your callers just said Biden is not going to do anything better than what Trump gave us. We already know his track record and Kamala Harris' track record, so we don't stand a fair under them. So much so that they may even challenge certain gun rights that all of us have, and none of us may be carrying guns. If you want to look at it on a broader scale.
Yeah. That's what more folks want to deal with it. With 800-450-7876. JP on line 2, calling from the district. JP, you're on with Professor Griff.
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Yes, sir. And how are you?
All right. I just wanted to say, black folks, we're smart enough, but we need organization, and we have a very powerful weapon. It's $1.3 trillion that we accumulate and spend every year. So that said, none of these politicians are going to voluntarily bow down and conform or bend to our will. We have to bend them towards our will. Now, during this pandemic, the liquor stores have been full. I see folks packed up inside, folks standing outside. The fast food places, wrapped around your cars.
Yeah.
So, are we willing to stay out the liquor stores? I promise you, if we were to boycott, now I'm only talking about things that are already hurting us. The liquor stores and the fast food and liquor. If we would have just boycott for 30 days from the liquor stores and the fast food, I promise you, a whole bunch of white folks are going to want to sit down and talk to us and find out what we want, and they're going to want to resolve that quick. Okay? But all we got to do is have the fortitude and the willing to and be willing to sacrifice to get what we want. But we want to pay everybody. We want to please all of the folks in the system, and at the same time want people to, you know, ingratiate us and love us and all. It don't work like that. Right. You know, these other folks, you don't see them piling up in liquor stores and fast food places. No other group does that but Black America. So when we're ready to get that together, we'll start making some traction in this country. That's all I want to say.
And I would agree with you. And I think we are ready. It's going to take brave people like you to constantly and continuously speak up and speak out about it. I know you're probably exhausted and tired like a lot of us are, but ain't no rest for the weary. We have to be able to say it to that next generation. We have to, all those vices that are in the Black community were put there by someone else. We have to overcome those things and, like you said, organize. And I agree with you.
And Griff, you know, he mentioned, thanks, JP. And Griff, you mentioned the selective spending, boycotts and stuff. And we're in the holiday season now. What's it going to take to stop our folks from going out there and get caught up on all this Christmas stuff?
Well, it's funny that you should say that, simply because I've been seeing a lot of commercials and people talking about buy black. And when you peel one layer back and you look into the thing that they're wanting us to buy, it feeds right into the same kind of self-hatred. It feeds right into the same kind of, why do I need these particular products? They're a want instead of a need. What is it that I need right now that's going to take me through this pandemic, that's going to make me healthier, make me smarter, make me wiser, make me more independent? Some of the things that the people are selling that are black are not necessarily good for black people. And the gentleman just mentioned some of those things. When you drive through the black neighborhood, you wouldn't even know that there's a pandemic happening. The way people are conducting themselves. If it was not for store owners having people forcing people to wear masks, you wouldn't know that there's a pandemic happening. Not the way we spend our money and what we spend our money on. You would think we would be stocking food. You'd think we would be kind of taking care of ourselves better, that whatever the vaccine is going to consist of, whether we take it or we don't take it, you would think we would want to be healthy. And it's like, no, I don't see that. Not at the rate that I would like to see it. I just don't see it.
Do you ever see it happening? Because, you know, we have these conversations with Dick Gregory quite a bit. And he says that he doesn't see it happening. We're too wedded to Christmas.
No, you know something, and this is sad that we have to put it this way in these terms. I saw it happening when white people joined the protests. When white people joined the protests, it seemed like it gave the protest an international kind of lens to view some of the issues through. But since someone was paying for some of these protests that are happening under the guise of Black Lives Matter, everyone thought that every protest was a Black Lives Matter protest, and someone kind of hijacked the agenda. Someone hijacked the protest. Then it became about everyone else and not the issues that we came to protest about. Now, why would we need certain things going down? White guys dressed in black busting out windows of a store if it's at a Black Lives Matter rally and black people are not busting out windows and it's white people. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, wow. When I'm watching some of the footage and I'm seeing what's taking place and what's going down in a lot of the cities. For example, Carl Rittenhouse, the 16, 17-year-old that shot 2 people at one of the rallies. I said to someone said, do you think that's white on white crime? I said, yeah, but I thought it was Black Lives Matter. See, Black Lives Matter is taking the weight for that, because I hear some white politicians say that Black Lives Matter is now a terrorist organization that's working to overthrow the government. I'm like, well, where did they get that concept from? I know a few people in Black Lives Matter. They're not violent at all. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, yeah. And the magic marker and the cardboard that they wrote their signs on was financed by George Soros. So it's like, come on, man. You hijacking the protests. You're taking it off track. So our voices are not really being heard. And then you're having these other people at the protest wreaking havoc, burning cars, burning buildings, destroying property. But we have to take the weight for it. It's like, come on. So with all of that happening, You would think that we would take our money, save it, pull it together, and get some instructions on how we can survive this pandemic that's going on and survive what's going on in these streets.
Right. You mentioned that the movement was hijacked. Is that why we saw, quote unquote, Black Lives Matter burning and down black stores and looting black stores as well?
Well, my thing is, when you take a closer look at it, a lot of those people were white people, Carl. And I said to myself, well, how is this taking place? So is the protest really to speak up and speak out about police brutality and will cause some people to kind of take a second look at how what policing really looks like in the black neighborhood? Or are we just doing this as an exercise? And I just said to myself, wow, did we really get out of it the energy that we put into it? I don't know. I think not, Colin. I mean, I hate to sound so negative about it, but I think not.
Right.
We could have
can we take another call or do we have to go to break?
No. We can take another call. It's up to you.
All right. Thomas is on line 3 from DC. Thomas, you're on with
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm on line 3. I'm a retired DC police officer, 25 years. I grew up in this city in Washington, D.C. Pete Newsham, we used to work together. He was a very good friend of mine. Now, I bought a lot of properties in D.C. back in the 70s and 80s. Now, the trustee is trying to take all my properties from me.
Wow.
I've never done anything wrong. Even my attorney told me that the trustee, Mark Opper.
Sure, hang on a second, Thomas. And when we come back, put in a question form so Professor Griff can respond. And we'll take a call. Also, so we got a bunch of folks from all across the country also want to speak with you, Griff. Okay. You too can join this discussion. Yeah. Reach out to us at 800-450-7876, and we'll take your calls after this short break right here on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Yes. Thank you. If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. The IRS just rolled out a new program to help struggling taxpayers more easily resolve their tax problems. It's called the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, and it opens up powerful new options for people looking to get back on the right track with the IRS. And no one knows this program like the professionals at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted resolution company. They've resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients and have the expertise and experience to help you. One easy call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries of wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Make today the beginning of your fresh start with the IRS. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief now for your free confidential consultation.
Call 800-799-0977. 800-799-0977. 800-799-0977.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived in Philadelphia. Local time is 3:05 p.m. and the temperature is 67 degrees. At this time, you are now free to use your cellular devices.
You know that feeling when you get to turn your phone on after the plane lands?
What's good with y'all?
You can have that feeling every time you drive.
COVID is a psyop.
Make sure your cell phone is stowed away whenever you're behind the wheel.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
WOL, Washington, D.C. W240DJ, Washington. 95.9. WMMJ, HD3, Bethesda. WKYS, HD3, Washington. WPRS, HD3, Waldorf, and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show
on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
I'd like to stand with folks, and the guest is Professor Griff from Public Enemy, Minister of Information. We're talking about some music, too, in a moment. I'd like to speak to him, though, 800-450-7876. Before we left for the top of the hour break, we're speaking with Thomas in D.C. So, Thomas, again, a question. Can you put in a question form so that Professor Griff can respond?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
Right. Can you put it in a question form, your comment, so that he can respond?
I got to go over my phone.
No, because I didn't hear a question in there. I heard a complaint. That's why I was asking you, because
The question I have right here.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Question.
I'm not too familiar with the phone, with the complaints, doing the complaints over the phone. But Laws, I got your number now. I can get a direct number for you. I've been living in Washington, D.C. since I was 14 years old. Originally, I'm from Guyana, South America. I came here, I worked hard, me and my family, and I acquired these properties while I was working with the D.C. Police Department. I worked for the D.C. Police Department for 25 years and about 2 months. And after I did that, I retired, serving D.C. area, Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. I used to work for both of them. And I also worked for ATF, the FBI, and the DEA.
Yeah, but give us the question, because we got a bunch of folks who want to talk to Griff.
Right.
So I don't want to eat up too much time. What is it you want? What can he help you with?
The question is, I filed Chapter 13 and Chapter 11, and the prosecutor or the U.S. the attorney, Mark Alper, the bankruptcy attorney, Mark Alper, went in and filed a motion to sell all my properties.
Right.
And
we're going to let you go, because that sounds like a different issue there where we need to handle. You need to get a good attorney through all of that. And Griff is not an attorney, the last time I checked. But I thank you for your call. 800-450-7876. Bob's in Philly on line 4. Bob, you have a question for Professor Griff.
Well, the record is already out there, and it seems like nobody's paying attention to it. But what Trump has done with this disease or this virus has been repeated under Reagan. How many people died plus under Reagan? And every administration that's been in there since Herbert Hoover has failed the country.
Right. Bob, again, too, can you put it in a question form? Guys, if you got statements, just wait till Friday and call us up. But please don't ignore our guest. He's here for a reason. Use his expertise. So do you have a question for Professor Griff?
Well, I know.
All right, we'll call Bob. Call us back on Friday. Griff, let me ask you this: Bob Dylan just sold his records. I guess his contract, his
catalog,
library, if you will.
His catalog.
His catalog. That's the word I was looking
yes,
for.
Sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
And he sold it. What was it, like $300 million?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Is it worth it? Is for us who are not in the biz? I understand that the guy who co-wrote some of your songs for Public Enemy also sold his part of the catalog,
right.
his catalog. And explain to us who we just listen to the music, and we don't even check who writes the songs for that. We just like listen to the performance.
Right.
Because I was told that Whitney Houston made a lot of money for Dolly Parton. Right. She wrote that song. Yeah. So explain to us the background and how that works in the music business.
Well, I think, Carl, a lot of times when we as fans looking at it from the audience, back onto the stage, we kind of think this is the person singing, and we just assume that's that person's song. That person wrote the song, and that person owns the publishing. And a lot of times, in a lot of cases, that's just not the case. A prime example of that. The beautiful songs that came out of Detroit, out of Motown. A lot of times those particular artists, although they sound good and sang the songs like they were their own, a lot of times they did not write those songs, nor did they compose the music, Carl. So when you talk about who is benefiting from those songs 25 years later in a Budweiser commercial, it's like, wow, we find out that no, these individuals did not write. Diana Ross didn't write that song. So-and-so wrote it, and along with this other person, and they're the ones reaping the benefit. So, Carl, one of the main things that you can benefit from in your career as an artist is owning your own publishing. Publishing is the key. Publishing is probably where you're going to make the most money. There was a song by Marvin Gaye. I heard it through the grapevine. I used to hear that song every other night in a grape commercial. They were selling grapes, and the grapes was singing Marvin Gaye's song, Georgia on My Mind by Ray Charles. Ray Charles was a smart businessman. So they sold one line, one phrase of that song to the state of Georgia for their moniker, or for the song that they sing about Georgia, Georgia on My Mind. Well, Ray Charles was smart because he owned the publishing and he wrote the song, and it was like, okay, well, we're going to sell one part of the song. Now you can license Georgia on My Mind as a phrase. We'll allow you to put it on bumper stickers and slogans and whatever, but Ray Charles at the end of the day still owns it and still benefits from it. Now, Bob Dylan is an icon when it comes to white America. You're talking John Wayne, Elvis, and a few other people. Bob Dylan is right there, especially through the turbulent 60s. So we have to understand what Bob Dylan means to white people. $300 million is not a lot of money, to be honest with you, when it comes to Bob Dylan's catalog. You understand what I'm saying? So when you look at it like that, they're able to make that money back and then some. Yeah.
So then you mentioned Motown. So Smokey wrote a lot of those hits. So he's still going to the bank every day.
Exactly. Babyface wrote a lot of songs for a lot of artists, and these guys are doing fine. Because some people that we don't even know wrote some of these songs, and we'll probably never know. But they're good songwriters. They're just not artists, and they're not up in front of us. But they're doing well. So as far as Keith Shockley is concerned, with part of the Public Enemy catalog, him selling his, I don't know. I just found out that out today, Carl, and I sat for a minute. I was like, wow, that's very interesting that he would sell that, because I believe, you know, when he's talking about songs from that he produced and helped put together, that Ice Cube, Belle Biv DeVoe,
LL Cool J.
LL Cool J. Of course, the Public Enemy stuff, Fight the Power. I know Keith had his hand in that, and a few other songs that we all know. We might know the songs, but we might not even know KG, Keith Shockley from the Bomb Squad. You understand what I'm saying? So
let me ask you this then, Griff. What about the producer? Does he also get residuals as well, or is it just the writers?
No, that's who KG. That's who Keith Shockley is. He was the producer of these songs, part of the production team of these songs. So that's where he gets his, that's where he gets getting his money from, and that's where.
So is that two checks or one check? That's what I'm asking. Is it a separate check for the writer and a separate check for the producer, or what?
Well, there's a lot more than two checks if you're part producer of a song. So we could take that and cut that pie up about 5 more times, Carl. Because if that song goes out for a licensing deal, that's another check. If it ends up in a movie, that's another check. If it ends up, so there's a couple of more checks than that. But all of his publishing together might add up to, a few $1 million. Let's just say 5 million. And if a company kind of sees that and he can sell his publishing and get a lump sum of money to retire or whatever, then that's it. He may look at it as a good deal.
So your advice to these young people who get in the music industry, would it be to get behind the scenes or holding the mic? What would you tell them?
For example, Lil Baby in Atlanta, very good artist. Got away with words, puts his songs down. People like him. Very popular artist. I would suggest, and I'm only using Lil Baby as an example, I would suggest pressing the pause button right now and learning the digital music business. It's a lot different from the analog music business that we once knew. Learn these new terms. Learn the digital music business that we're in right now, and own your own material. Own your own material. Taylor Swift recently said that she was going to pay X amount of money to get her masters and redo them so she can own her songs. A lot of people can't do that. A lot of people don't have the millions of dollars to go back in the studio, recreate that magic so you can own your own song. That's the only way you can do it nowadays. There's a statute of limitation too, Carl. I believe it's 20 to 25 years.
But as a youngster coming up and you wrote the song and you take it to the producer or the record company, what are the chances are that they're going to try to snip or take piece of the production or piece of the publishing of your particular record?
85%. They want to own. They want to own something. 85%. Yeah, they want to own something. Yeah, they want to own 85% of it for at least the term of the contract. If you sign with a label for 3 years, they say, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We're able to do X, Y, and Z, get it in movies, get you on shows, get the song played, yada, yada, yada. But we have to get X amount of percentage of the song. Now, artists don't have to agree with that. A record deal is different from a publishing deal.
All right, because we come up on breakfast, but I got to ask you this: was that the issue with Michael Jackson with his record company?
No. I think Michael Jackson was absolutely doing fine, but Michael Jackson took his money and he was wise. He bought other catalogs, the Beatles and other catalogs, and he owned that and he used that as leverage. Now, Prince's situation is a different situation.
All right, I'll let you explain Prince's situation. We've got a bunch of folks from across the country want to talk to you as well.
All right.
800-450-7876. I like talking to Professor Griff. You can talk all kinds of stuff with him. And you too can do the same. Reach out to us and we'll take your calls after this quick break. Right here on FM 95.9 and AM 1450. WOL, where information is power.
Quan, I don't see you in here anymore. Where you at, Quan?
This is season 2 by Black. La 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 Black. It's not a trend, it's a movement. With the unapologetically Black card that rewards for buying Black. Earn double points this holiday season with select Black-owned brands and earn points for qualified everyday purchases. From groceries to TV and music streaming subscriptions. Redeem points for cash back or donate them to support Black charities. Apply now for your One VIP card with no credit check at onevip.com. Subject to terms and conditions. The One VIP Visa Prepaid card is issued by Star Bank and a member FDIC. Pursuant to a license from Visa USA, Inc.
If you're a Democrat, Republican, or Independent, Black News Talk is hotter than ever. The Power Block, where you're keeping up with the Joneses, hosted by Mike Jones, Carlene Eliza, and Unc Cornell Jones, delivers listeners with point of views and discussions about racism, Black family, politics, and other hot topics amongst our Black community. Listen each and every Saturday right here from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. To join the discussion, don't miss the Power Block, where you're keeping up with the Joneses with Mike Jones, Carlene Eliza, and Uncle Cornell Jones each Saturday. Also, for show support and sponsorship and or business marketing services, call the Foster Jones Group at 202-600-7793 or at www.thefosterjonesgroup.com. Don't miss the most talked about show on Saturday morning for more than 10 years. The Power Book, where you're keeping up with the Joneses right here on the WOL Radio Network.
They say singing can help you remember things. So here's some tips for parents out there during these tough times. Number 1, make sure your kids wash their hands for 20 seconds after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside. 2, virtual play dates. Social and physical distancing can help save lives. 3, tell them they're safe and show your love and pride. Yes, we'll get through this together. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
It was a normal day.
He was in some minor accident, a fender bender.
And I had this impulse to call him, but I didn't. Because I thought I could call him later that week.
He abandoned the car, he came home, and he shot himself without ever talking to anyone.
When I came home that night and I found her, they told me that she had shot herself. And I couldn't believe it. I asked if he was okay.
Shooting is unfortunately effective. There are not a lot of second chances.
Once you pull that trigger, that's it. There is no coming back.
63 Americans a day die by gun suicide. By storing our guns safely, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo, we can give our loved ones a second chance at life. Learn more at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
1450 WOL.
And now back to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450.
1450 WOL Radio.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. We're having a conversation with Professor Griff. Many of you will remember him from Public Enemy. He was the Minister of Information in that group. If you'd like to speak to him about music or about life in general, politics, he's got it. 800-450-7876. Before I take a coffee, you were telling us about Prince. He says Prince's situation was different from Michael's, because I remember Prince, he called himself a slave and artist formerly known as Prince, and he was going to put out some products without his fight with Warner Brothers. What was going on there?
Yeah, I think Prince's his kind of fight with Warner Brothers and these labels was very, very obvious. So much so that he wore slave on his face, simply because in signing these particular contracts, they owned his name and they owned the likeness. So even when he wanted to kind of go and do his own thing, he couldn't do it under Prince because they owned it. Can you imagine that they own your likeness? You can't even manipulate and control and make money off of your own likeness or your own name. So when Prince kind of was bringing these particular things out, it led to what it led to, and some say that it led to him, the situation that he ended up in, and almost to the day that he was fighting and looking to get his masters back. He ended up dead. So we have to be mindful and careful of these particular contracts. Someone as valuable as Michael Jackson, Prince, James Brown, and some of these, even Don Cornelius, we can look back and say, okay, who owns all of those recordings and all of those shows that the Soul Train put out? You understand? Even Suge Knight, the Death Row catalog, who owns that? So you understand what I'm saying? So when we really look at it, it's these particular contracts. And who owns the publishing? Who owns the songs?
Yeah, I guess it goes back to the contracts, and I'm glad that you explained that, because I know we got a lot of young people who are listening, and they all want to get into the game. But they're just happy to hear their songs on the radio, and they don't look beyond that. So I'm glad you explained that. And let me ask you this though, before I take a call: when you started though, were you into that? Were you researching, about the contract behind the scenes, or were you just giddy just to hear your song on the radio?
No, I think the Public Enemy situation was totally different. We knew they weren't going to play our stuff, so we were in it for a whole different reason. We wanted to shake the industry up and put something on some people's minds. And we even said to ourselves, we either going to be in jail or dead in 2 years. So that was our approach. We never planned on being in the music industry.
Oh, gotcha. All right, let me take some calls for you. 800-450-7876 to speak to Professor Griff. Robert is calling us from Florida. He's on line 5. Robert, you're on with Griff.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carl. It's been a long time since we've talked. I think the last time we spoke, it was during the O.J. Simpson trial situation from many, many years back, and we would go at it with each other. But those were enjoyable times. Professor Griff is a very interesting person. I have enjoyed immensely listening to him. He's very wise and very smart beyond his years. The unfortunate part about all this is that many of the callers that have called in and many of the people listening do not share and cannot possibly share in the depth of intelligence that Professor Griff has. And I doubt very seriously that it would be greatly appreciated from the wisdom that he's putting out here this evening. And I have a couple of questions that I want to ask, but let me get to a couple of points that he's talked about. In terms of his mentioning about the looting that has been taking place after certain events, I think it's pretty well recognized that the Antifa people have normally been the ones that have been initiating the looting by throwing the bricks, throwing the bottles through the windows. The problem you've got, however, is that who follows behind those bricks? It's us. It's black people trying to get something for nothing. It's this something for nothing mentality that we've been maintaining over the years that have kept us mired into the mediocrity that we've been in. And I quite frankly don't know how to overcome and how to instruct people that with a little bit of education, we can get over that getting over mentality. One caller earlier talked about need to do some brain surgery on black people.
Right.
I think the brain surgery has to come in from the people who are making the calls and making comments such as, denigrating where black folks are at. We are where we are because we don't have a direction. We're where we are because for some reason we want to take the easy road and the road that's well traveled as opposed to the road less traveled.
Right.
And I think that's causing a significant problem with what we've got. Griff, you made a comment earlier about the two most important consumer stores that you may find in black communities, such as liquor stores and fast food.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, that's a correct statement. And I'll even go one step further. And this may be a little bit of trivia for some people, but in 1990, can anyone guess what was the number one most consumed item, the number one most purchased item made by black folks at the commercial level? 5 seconds for a guess.
1990?
Yes.
Produced by black people?
5 seconds.
Yeah.
5 seconds are over. It was orange soda.
Wow.
Orange soda.
Orange soda.
Wow.
Yes, orange soda. Black people bought more orange soda per capita than any other population on this country. The number two consumed item, honey buns. Now, something needs to be awakened in the minds of black folks, not only from a dietary standpoint, but from a pragmatic standpoint.
Right.
Honey buns, orange soda, going and buying your 6-pack of Mickey's malt liquor and then going around to the corner Chinese food store where the Chinese person's going to cuss you out in Mandarin and in Cantonese so that you don't understand it,
right.
but you're going to buy shrimp fried rice from them at the same time. What am I getting to? And this is the question I've got for Professor Griff. All this circles around to ignorance. It circles around to the inability or the lack of tenacity to educate oneself to the society that you belong to. Why is it that we as black people suffer so much with the lack of opportunity, the lack of inequity, the inability to be able to at least walk hand in hand or walk even equally to the other people in the society? Is it because we detach ourselves? Is it because we don't care? Is it because that we are in our own little world within a world? I don't know the answer to these questions, and I don't want to take up a whole lot of time on this. But Griff, with your wisdom and exposure, where are you on the level of education of getting us out of the muck and the mire that we're in, getting us out of this ability to want to, just as Curtis Mayfield said, I'm trying to get over.
Right.
We got to get over. We got to get out of this getting over mentality and going through the obstacle, not getting around the obstacle. So I just want to hear from you. I just want to hear a couple words from you, Griff, on all this. You've been great. Carl, I thank you for having him on, and I hope you'll bring him back. But Griff, just expound a little bit on where you see this. This is all the road we've traveled over. Carl and I have talked about these topics in the past ourselves.
Right.
To me, this is like circular masturbation. We're not going any place here. This is something that's going to keep talked about over and over and over again. And probably 10 years from now, we'll keep talking about it.
Well, that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid our children's children having this conversation 10, 20 years from now. So I'm thinking from the perspective of education. I've always taught my sons to go to school and take 2 sets of notes. And why did I do that? A set of notes so you can get past and regurgitate back to your teacher so you can get a good grade to make it, to get the diploma, then get the degree so we can open up certain doors while we're living in this particular society. But at the same time, the other set of notes so we can navigate through racism, white supremacy, so we can establish something for ourselves. Those that chose one of those particular roads either end up jail or brainwashed. And what we need to do is be able to come to a point where we have an infrastructure set up where we can synthesize both of them and applaud and support both of those particular concepts. Most of us would like to get a degree and go on and be successful in this society. There's so many barriers that are in the way. We say to ourselves, maybe I can make it some other kind of way. And that other kind of way will lead you to a road that's most traveled by Black people, the same ones that we could sit on this program and say, those might be the ones that bought the honey buns and the orange soda. And just to digress for a minute, I was going to say beer and Chinese food, but you talked about that already. In 1990, you kind of figure I was 30, so the people around me in the small little neighborhood that I was in New York, it was like we were consumed, all right, with not being able to look inwardly to support who we are as a people. It wasn't until we had the expression, and then when hip hop grew, some of us saw the rest of the world. As cable became more popular, and then later on cell phones and this kind of thing, and we able to see the world through a lens that most people have set up for us to look at the world through. We never got a chance to create our own.
That's all right there, Griff. We got to take a short break. And Robert, stay with us if you have a follow-up. 800-450-7876. Getting deep right now. We'll take your calls next, right here on FM 95.9 and AM 1450. WOL, where information is power.
Today on Hey Culligan, smoother skin for the win. We've got Claire in Delaware.
Hey Culligan, the water in my shower makes my skin feel like
that was a very interesting
Okay, first off, Claire, are you 90?
No.
Okay, second, how do you feel about high-efficiency water softeners from Culligan? Actually, Claire, how do you feel about smoother skin and luxurious hair?
You only got a short amount of time.
Love it, have to have it.
OMG indeed, Claire. We're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with a local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
Science is not an opinion. People come before pipelines. It's not too late to act on climate. No one is above the law. At Earth Justice, we hold these beliefs to be self-evident. As a national legal nonprofit fighting for your right to a healthy environment, we are 150-plus lawyers representing clients free of charge because now, more than ever, the Earth needs a good lawyer. No one fights more cases on the environment than Earth Justice. And we win because these are fights we cannot lose. We win for scientists so they can serve at the EPA. We win at the Supreme Court because clean water is for everyone. We win against fossil fuel plants so communities can breathe freely. If you believe what we believe, then help us fight the good fight and help us keep winning by going to earthjustice.org today. That's earthjustice.org.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
1450 WOL, everywhere you are, via our mobile app.
And now back to the Carl Nelson Show.
On Washington, D.C.
1450 WOL Radio.
I'm just saying this, folks. I guess is Professor Griff from the group. 800-450-7876. Before we let you speaking with Robert, I'm going to let you finish your response to Robert's question.
Real quick, Colin, Robert. This whole idea of the paradigm, this worldview that we need to view ourselves through, as opposed to someone setting it up for us to view ourselves. The things that we need in the community, other than beer, orange soda, honey buns, and Chinese food, I think we need to begin to connect with other Black people throughout the Black African diaspora so we can have these things for ourselves, so we can get these things for ourselves and produce these things for ourselves. I think if we begin to feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, educate ourselves, I think that's a good start, Robert. What do you think?
Well, brother, Griff, don't you believe? And you said something very, very critical just before Carl went to break. You said that we have barriers.
Yes.
There are barriers that prevent us from moving forward in the educational realm, into the business realm, into the cultural realm. And it's these barriers that are stopping us. This is where you and I now have to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that there are barriers. I believe the barriers for Black people are melded directly into their own brains.
Mm.
I think Black people have put their own barriers, or I would call them excuses, in the way of their being able to make the progressions. Because remember, I talked about the get over mentality.
Right.
I'm just trying to get over. I'm not going to put a whole lot of effort into this stuff, man. All I'm going to do is just try to get over, and then I'm going to be all right. And if you're satisfied with being all right, then you got no right to complain about your position.
Right.
If you're all right, good, stay there. The second part of this, the barriers that we have placed in our own minds, barriers of I got to go to work, I can't go to school, I'm not smart enough, my lady's on my back, I got 5 kids. We can be here from now until forever to think about the barriers we have self-imposed ourselves to.
Right.
But if for some reason or another, we can get with those barriers straight ahead, not by getting over, but by straight ahead, we might be able to see some of this progress that you and I are talking about.
Right. And
maybe one day these futile discussions can go away. Like the myth of Sisyphus. Remember, if you study Greek philosophy or Greek mythology, Sisyphus was condemned by Zeus because he tried to screw Zeus's daughter. Sisyphus was condemned by Zeus to push a rock up a hill, only to have that rock hit the top of the hill to see the rock fall back down the hill. His punishment was to push that rock back up the hill again, get to the top of the hill, watch the rock fall back down, and go back and push the rock back up the hill. Not futility. Black people have been pushing this rock up and down the hill for the last 150 years, and we haven't made any damn progress yet. In the course of pushing that rock up and down the hill, maybe we would stop sometimes in the middle of the hill and examine, is there an easier way to push this damn rock? It's not that we're not intelligent, it's that we're not resourceful enough to give us, to use the God-given abilities that we've got, other than wanting to get over.
Right. So, Robert, do you think, I don't mean to cut you off, but do you think the idea of looking at Barack Obama sitting in the White House for 8 years represented that degree of success for some Black people, and then they got relaxed and they says, well, I can stop trying to get over, I've made it. There's a Black man in the White House. Here we go. Here we are. What else do I need to do?
I think that Black people had a bifurcated position on this. The first part of the bifurcation is that, yeah, I'm happy we got a Black man in the White House. He's going to take care of us. He's going to look out for us, and he's going to be down with the cause.
Right.
However, the second part of the bifurcation is that Black people don't live in America. There are other people in this country, such as white people, such as Spanish people, such as Asian people.
Right.
And unfortunately, Barack Obama was elected to be the president of the United States, not the president of African Americans. And that's where the disconnect began.
Right.
Not possibly be elected the president of the United States if his position was purely for advocacy of African Americans.
Right.
He wouldn't have never even gotten into the nomination as a nominee for the Democratic Party if that were the case.
Right.
But Black people, again, refused to accept the reality of the situation. Was Barack Obama perfect as a president? Hell no, by all means.
Right.
When Barack Obama was elected in his first term, he had a Democratic Senate. And he had a Democratic House. He had what Joe Biden's trying to get right now.
Right, exactly.
2 years into his term, nothing happened.
Right.
He had the power. He had the power to do a lot of different things, but it just didn't happen.
But Robert, this is what I try to get black people to understand and see. These self-imposed barriers, which you said equal excuses. Barack Obama, in his first 2 years of his presidency, could have helped us get rid of those self-imposed barriers if it was from us, because he would have experienced it. But he's not from us.
He is technically not a part of the black experience.
Exactly.
He is technically someone who became a part of the black experience purely through political maneuvering.
Right, exactly.
Because just as Donald Trump needs a couple of black votes to try to... Barack Obama needed a heck of a lot of black votes to get in this position. But here's where the dilemma happens. Microphone during a campaign and begins to sing. And then black women started screaming, saying, "Oh my God, he's..." But forgetting about his political position.
Right.
He looked at everything, which is a good thing for Obama because he did the right thing there. But you didn't scream at his music. You should have been screaming at his political positioning. And that's where we went wrong. That's where we failed. Again, we're just trying to get over.
Right.
We're trying to get over.
Right.
And
all right, Robert, we're going to move on. There's a bunch of folks want to talk to you, Griff, and I know he wants to respond to what you said, but I thank you for your calling. And don't be a stranger.
Robert. Thank you, Robert. That was very interesting.
Good. Anything you want to respond to what Robert said?
No. I mean, it was clear, and I understood exactly.
Yeah, because he was right on.
Yeah,
I mean, we've had these conversations all along, and again, just what you're trying to stop us from having these conversations again in another 10, 20 years.
Exactly.
You know, it's futile.
Exactly.
And I agree with Rob. We've got to figure it, because we're smart enough. And I keep saying that. We've got some smart people, who look like us. But we got to get them to bat for us. Got to get them on our team. They're working on the other team. And if they come on our team and figure it out, we won't have any problems.
Right.
But anyway, I digress. I got a bunch of folks who want to talk to you. 800-450-7876. Terry's on line 4. He's calling from Connecticut. Terry, you're on with Professor Griff.
Gentlemen, how you doing, Professor Griff?
Oh, how you doing, sir?
Good. Come on, yeah, Carl. I want to ask a question. I know there's other listeners that want to also get in. One thing that always kind of bothered me, and this is a music and Michael Jackson. I could never understand why they never come together and collaborate on a recording. I mean,
who Michael Jackson and who?
Prince. Prince and Michael Jackson.
Well, they tried to. Do you know the song?
Even he recorded with Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger, but they don't know. I'm not understanding. I want to know. I mean, these are two powerful. Come together to do a recording. Was it the industry that kept them apart, or could you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, it was Prince. The song, I'm trying to think of the name of the song right now, where Michael Jackson started off with the line, "Your blood is mine." What song is that? Smooth Criminal or something?
Okay, Bad.
Okay, Bad. Right. So he presented that song as a duet to Prince, and Prince turned it down. Prince was basically, "I'm not singing that. Your butt is mine." Prince took offense to that and was basically like, "No, I'm not. Yeah, no good." You understand what I'm saying? It's just, and it was just some artistic kind of stuff they didn't agree on. They were there slated to do something together, but a lot of people, they put, this conspiratorial kind of stuff around situations like that. And it was just purely Prince just was not digging what Michael Jackson was doing at that particular time and opted out. That's all.
A YouTube video, I don't know if it's still up or not, but Prince was actually doing one of Michael Jackson's songs in concert, "Take Your Body Down to the Ground." I mean, it was his version of it. Sounded a lot different, but at least he did pay that respect. But it's just really sad, man, that those guys couldn't come together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know something? I'm feeling what you're feeling right now, because I say the same thing with politics. How come there's some politicians we know and some leaders that we know that can't come together, sit down and have a conversation so we can make some progress in America? For real.
Right. Okay, well, Professor Griff, man, I appreciate you taking my call. I just wanted to throw that out there at you.
All right, give thanks, man. Take care.
Right. Thanks, Terry. Yeah, that's interesting. And that's a good point that you made as well, Professor Griff, about politicians coming together. If they see us as a unit and stop thinking individually, and about their egos, and looking at the black race, and we got to solve a problem for the black race. Maybe maybe we can make some progress if they do come together. What do we have to do to get them to think like that?
Right, and I think we need to start looking at it like it's not about me, but it's about for the greater good. What can I do for the greater good? I'm not always going to be here, so I need to do something for the greater good. Yeah,
exactly. All right, hang on a second. We got to take a short break. 800-450-7876. Speak to Professor Griff. We'll take your calls after this quick break right here on FM 95.9 AM 1450 WOL. The information is power.
Thanks for calling. Jan.
Hi, Jan. I heard Toyotathon is on.
It sure is.
Perfect. I'm getting a head start on my list for Santa.
Well, we've got great year-end deals on camera, 4 and more.
But what kind of toys do you have?
It's actually Toyotathon, not vehicles, not toys. I'm sorry, sweetie.
Okay. What can I get for $5?
Current offers. Participating Toyota dealer for details. Toyota. Let's go places.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives with your gifts. Your heart could keep beating. And your intestines could keep on digesting for others. And that's not all. You need more people as an eye and tissue donor, restoring sight and health. And you're not just helping out the person receiving the transplant. You're touching whole families with your life-saving gift. Register in minutes. Just go to organdonor.gov. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Sign up today. Go to organdonor. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
On the web and social media at WOL DC News.
And now back to the Carl Nelson Show.
On Washington, D.C.'s 1450.
1450 WOL Radio.
Thanks for rolling with us, folks. We're having a discussion with Professor Griff. You know him from Public Enemy. If you'd like to speak to him, 800-450-7876. Before we go back to him, let me just remind you some of the other folks are going to be here in the next few days. Tony Nana Junkley is going to join us. Also, world traveler Dr. Renoka Rashidi is going to be here. And also, Dr. Ali Muhammad is going to give us an update on COVID-19. So if you're in the DMV, tell all your friends to keep their radios locked right here on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL. Let's go back to some calls for Professor Griff. Let's go to line 2. Priest is in D.C. Priest, you're on with Professor Griff. Is Priest there on line 2? All right, let's keep moving then. Let's go to Damien on line Damien in New York. I see you have line 2 on it for Damien as well. Is Damien there? All right, let's go to Christian in Malibu on line 5. Christian?
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. How you doing?
All right, greetings. How are you, Christian?
Chuck D and Flavor Flav got into it about a political campaign event. And he didn't want to be involved in that. Have they amended their relationship?
Oh, from what I am actually seeing, I think they kind of mended it, at least for business sake, because they got back together and they signed a contract to resume recordings on Def Jam, which that's just a move I just really truly don't understand, because if all this time we've been talking about being independent artists and doing for ourselves because the industry has changed from an analog industry to a digital industry, why would you want to go back to the plantation? I mean, excuse me, why would you want to go back to Def Jam? That's just a question.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The second question is that you had a previous caller named Joseph. I think he was far afield of the issue. When Obama got in the first 2 years, he had a Democratic House and Senate.
Right.
He tried to pass that immigration bill and it failed miserably. Then he tried to, again in the first trimester of his second term, and it failed miserably. What he did toward the end, he wrote executive order. Now, he could have did that for black people for reparations. So we can't be passive when it comes to certain things. He's the president for all people. He made allowances for the immigration movement. And so what happened to the black people? So what I think is he had too much coffee. He had too much cream in his coffee. What do you think about that?
No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, you know, he was probably munching on them honey buns and that orange soda because we said that he was the first black president. We said he was the first African American. We celebrated that. We don't know what Barack Obama was speaking with them people behind closed doors when they opened up those files to him. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, we see his track record. Those first 2 years, I think Robert mentioned it. Those first 2 years, he could have put some things in place that we'd be benefiting from these particular things as we speak right now. But here we are.
Black Attorney General, he didn't get anything passed for black people. So, you know, it's disgusting, and I voted for him twice. But, yeah, you guys have a nice evening, man. Take it easy. Be safe.
Okay.
All right, Christian. So Christian admits he's part of the problem.
But Carl, do you think? Carl, do you think that Joe Biden has been part of that same problem since he was the vice president?
Oh, of course.
Okay. All right.
No question.
All right. I got you.
But here's the deal, Griff. They're all politicians. I don't know why we expect something different out of them, whether they be black, white, purple, pink, or blue. They're politicians. That's what politicians do. And that's how I look at them. They're politicians. That's what they do. I'm not surprised we didn't do anything for black folks.
Right.
You know?
We need to get a hold of the politician's handbook. We need the politician's handbook to see.
Right. That's not the nature of the game.
Right.
The nature of the game is to cut deals.
Exactly.
You know, and then unfortunately, we don't give them enough money for them to cut deals for us once they're in office.
Right.
So they got to dance to the people who give them the right to checks. It's not us.
The piper calls the tune. That's right.
People get upset.
Yep.
All right. Got some more folks want to talk to you. 800-450-7876. Brother X calling from Chicago. I know he's got a question for you. Brother X, you're on with, I almost say Chuck D. You're on with Professor Griff.
Yeah, thank you. The more things change, the more things remain the same.
That's right.
We all love Dr. Welton and Brother Needy Fuller. But the question to all of us is, where is your land? In 1920, Garvey said this will never be our land. We have to go back and reclaim Africa for ourselves and the Africans. And that is what we're still suffering from today. Right. And that's why they burned down our black town, stole all our inventions, locked us up. Because this is not our land. It is still not our land. It will never be. And all you black people getting caught up in these guns, remember this. It takes way more than guns to wage war. It takes food, water, logistics, aircraft. It takes all kind of stuff to wage war. That's why every black town, everybody had a gun. They still ran them over.
Brother X, we're racing the clock. So put it in a question for him so Griff can respond.
Brother Griff, why? Well, one brother already asked this. Michael Jackson comes from Gary, Indiana. It's a town right there by the lake, world-class airport. Us in this area were begging Michael Jackson, come to Gary, build Gary land. Have people coming from all over the world to Gary, Indiana. He wouldn't do it. We had a number of black business people in Chicago. They could not control the south side of Chicago. We cannot make it like that. We had Johnson Publication, Johnson Products, Dempsey Travis, Walter Payton, you name them. They could not control the south side of Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
All right. Let's give him a chance. Thank you, Brother X. Griff, you want to respond to that?
Well, to Brother X, let me say I think you're absolutely 1,000% incorrect. This is our land. Way before anyone else got here, we were here. You understand? This has always been our land and always will be our land. And we shared it with our brothers, the Native Americans. This is our land. And those, I can speak for the rising responsible gun owners because I'm one of them. No, we're not waging war, good brother. We, like the Black Panther Party, we are defending ourselves. We are exercising our right as Americans, exercising, our right, knowing and understanding our Second Amendment right. We're not waging war on anyone. We're simply defending ourselves, plain and simple. So the land question and being armed to protect yourself and your family and your community, yeah, those are the two things I kind of pulled from what you were saying that kind of stuck to the brain. But the land question, yes, bro, we just need to go back, just a few years in history to figure out whose land this is. That's not a hard thing to kind of figure out. Now, whether you're giving credit to the people that came and stole the land and committed genocide on the people, that's a whole other conversation. But this is our land, good brother. Thank you, Mr. X.
All right. I got Tweeter wanted to get your thoughts on Bismarcky and Bushwick Bill.
Wow.
The late Bushwick Bill.
No, I thought you was gonna say Curtis Blow because he just got out of surgery, had heart surgery. And our brothers, that I came up with, and I'm seeing them in and out of the hospital with just, and even some passing away, not by gunshot wounds, but just your health, something that we can prevent. You understand what I'm saying? So the days are long gone of being on tour, living a fast life in and out of a suitcase, out of hotels. We could take our time now and learn how to eat to live. We could take our time now and kind of look out after ourselves the way we need to look out after ourselves. So we're going to send our prayers out to Curtis Blow and Bismarcky and even with Bushwick Bill's situation and even Scarface getting sick and needing operation. We need to take better care of ourselves. That's another conversation that we need to have, Carl. Diet versus your live it in hip hop and in entertainment. What are we eating? What are we doing? How are we thinking? Are we meditating, praying? Are we exercising? What are we doing?
Yeah, I didn't know they were ill, but I thank for the tweeter because I guess he knew and wanted to get your thoughts on their health. So thank you for sharing that with us,
right,
Professor Griff. 800-450-7876. Tokyo Mo is calling. You on with Professor Griff?
Yes, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my call. Very nice discussion. I am particularly worried about the previous two callers who called and sort of putting a lot of blame on Black folks for not getting ahead or the obstacles we face. Being an immigrant, I see clearly for the few years that Black folks are up against a lot of institutional and systematic racism, intentionally spearheaded by the federal government themselves. Black folks are all alone. Black folks are all by themselves. So Black folks coming around and criticizing Black folks for where have they been all their lives? Are they living under the rock? If they cannot see clearly, I come here, I've been here a few years, and I see clearly systematic racism. Where are these ignorant Black folks coming around talking about Black folks don't want to pull themselves up?
All right,
why?
Tokyo, let me give Griff a chance to talk. So I thank you for your call.
Just reiterate what he said because he was kind of choppy. What was he saying? I want to get it exactly.
We're blaming the victims. We're blaming Black people because he's been here as an systematic racism, the institutional racism that holds Black people back, and that was in the head because it's our fault.
Yeah, brother, you have to understand something. You might not share our cultural experience. We might have the same skin tone, but my experience being born and raised in America is probably different from yours. And there's just certain things that I have to fight internally. And I think Robert mentioned this also, that we have to fight. Your
phone's going in and out.
What'd you say?
Yeah, get in a good spot.
Okay. And I think the things that we have to fight internally may become an issue to us when we think about fighting the government or getting over some of the generational things, the generational trauma that has been passed down, good brother. And I'm not saying that you're wrong, because I can't tell you what you see, but from the lens that I'm viewing Black people in America through, descendants of slaves that are in America, our cultural experience is different. And there's certain things we have to deal with internally, especially with the generational trauma. Dr. Joy Leary, Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about these things.
507876. Deborah or Deborah in Ohio on line 3. Can you make it quick for us?
Yes, thank you for that. I just wanted to say I definitely support blacks supporting black businesses and us keeping our dollars in here. I just wanted to throw in here about this Nelson report and the spending power. It's misleading to us and it creates biases for us because it's an opinion on how we're spending our money and the products that we are buying. Because there's no button at the cash register that you're pushing saying a black person bought the orange soda or a black person bought the honey bun. This is put out here by an opinion that says we have this spending power after our taxes that does not include what we spend for our mortgages or our car payments or our food or our utilities. And when this opinion comes in from these Nelson surveys, and it's based off opinion and not fact, that we're spending our money on hair products and fast
All right, quick. Let's give him a chance to respond because I hear the drummers warming up. Go for it, Griff.
No. She's absolutely correct, and we just have to kind of be very mindful of where these reports came from. And I think Robert mentioned that, but we should have mentioned where the information came from. She's right.
Right. Griff, how can folks, if they want to get more information, because you talk about a lot of stuff, how can they reach you? Are you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on social media. Just put in Professor Griff and my name will come up, or just call me directly, 678-557-2919. That's 678-557-2919. My website, www.professorgriff.me.
All right, I think we lost it. All right, folks, we got to get out of here. Stay strong, stay positive. Stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock right here on FM 95.9 and AM 1450. WOL, where information is power.
All right, family. I hope that was an interesting 2 hours of your time. Yeah. Anyway, thank you all very much for sitting with me. Carl Nelson's a really good guy, and I like doing his show. As y'all already know, the way that me and Quan kind of set this Serious Mind thing up, we tried to do the phone calls because, I don't mind talking to people. But as you can see, you're kind of you're witnessing a lot of times how those phone calls go and what people have to say. But thanks, Quan, and thank y'all very much. All right. Tomorrow is the Survival Preparedness 3. I'm going to put the names together of everyone that paid, put a list together, send it out. If you don't get the email, you're not on the list, so make it happen. All right, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Survival Preparedness 3. I'm not sure if I'm coming on a little bit later on, Quan, but I'll let you know. Probably not. I got to study. All right, salute. Y'all take care. All right, peace.